Hello, and thanks for taking a closer look at Raven Visual Analyzer. Raven Visual Analyzer is a plug-in component that adds powerful requirements visualization and analysis capabilities to IBM Rational Requirements Composer. Designed to work seamlessly with Composer, Raven Visual Analyzer helps optimize requirements elicitation and validation activities, saving time and improving overall requirements quality. This demonstration will show you how the two products can be used to dramatically improve how business analysts elicit, specify, and validate requirements. Let's get started. Raven Visual Analyzer can be used with any of the Requirements Composer rich text editors, including those that they provide for writing use case specifications, individual requirements, as well as complete business documents. Let's say I'm a business analyst working on the classic CD web shop project to which I've been assigned, and I need to put together a requirements overview document for the project. So I'll begin the demonstration by navigating to that document, and which will bring up the document editor within Requirements Composer. When I do that, notice that the menu bar updates to show me the Raven menu, which includes a series of functions that Raven Visual Analyzer provides, including the ability to insert an activity diagram, analyze requirements in detail, review the terms and actors that I've written into my narrative, show any errors that exist, as well as preview the activity diagram before inserting it back into the editor. Also notice that those same functions exist on the primary toolbar of Requirements Composer, shown here on the right. So in this particular requirements overview document, let's say that there's an order process overview section where I want to describe the end-to-end online order process. I've previously written a narrative describing that process, and I'll use the first of the Raven Visual Analyzer functions to instantly create a visual diagram from this process narrative text. I'll select it and click on the Insert Activity Diagram function. What will happen is then the narrative will be passed to the Raven language engine. It'll be analyzed, and a visual will be created that reflects that particular business process. Now the editor that I'm working in has been refreshed, and if I scroll down back to where that narrative was written, you'll see that the narrative has been fully analyzed. It's been updated to include a reflection of existing actors in the RRC, or Requirements Composer glossary. And you see also that this business-friendly activity diagram was created here, which now becomes an artifact that can be managed like any other artifact within the Requirements Composer repository, meaning that I can select it, I can add comments to it, I can mark it as a requirement, or I could link it to any other artifact. So that's an initial example of using Raven Visual Analyzer to basically use in a document editor to instantly visualize a business process. Let's continue the demonstration, assuming that now I'm getting into the more specific details of the requirements for the project, and I navigate to the use case diagram editor of Requirements Composer, where I see that a set of use cases have been predefined for shopping for the CD, purchasing it, arranging shipment, etc. And let's say that I want to drill into the shop for CD use case and use Raven Visual Analyzer to create a rich visualization of the use case narrative, as opposed to just looking at it in textual form. Again, what we'll do is we'll select the use case narrative that's already been written here. I'll highlight it, and at this point I'll show you the capability that Raven Visual Analyzer has to highlight any errors that might exist in this particular narrative. I click on the Show Narrative Errors button in the toolbar, and what will happen is that the editor will refresh, and the two errors that I happen to enter in this particular use case are highlighted in red. And this function works as a toggle, so if I click on this button again, the editor will refresh once again, and the editors will no longer be highlighted. Let's say that now I want to go ahead and correct these errors. And what I'll do is I'll use the Analyze Narrative function provided by Raven Visual Analyzer. And that brings up this secondary dialog where I can see three things: the narrative itself as written in the rich text editor, a preview of the activity diagram corresponding to that narrative, and the errors that I previously highlighted in red. If I select these errors down below, notice that they get the sentences corresponding to the errors get highlighted in the narrative area. And I can use this interface then to go in and quickly correct the errors to make sure that they're fully validated before inserting a diagram back into the use case editor. So I'll say the shopper selects the Find CD option and submits it to the Classics CD web shop. What I'll do now is click on the model button again. The error down below clears, and now I can see that I have just one more error to correct. I'll select it again. The corresponding sentence gets highlighted in the narrative. In this case, the error is identified as an incomplete conditional, which means that at a particular point in the process, and I'll scroll down to it here, this decision step, the continue shopping decision step, only has a true path. It doesn't have a path for the false condition. In other words, it's missing an otherwise condition in the text. So what I'll do to correct that is I'll type in otherwise, the shopper selects the checkout button, etc. Again, what I'll do is I'll model. Again, the error will clear, and you'll notice that in fact the diagram was instantly updated to reflect both the true path and the false path at that decision step. Now that I've corrected the errors, I'll go ahead and insert the diagram back into the editor. Raven Visual Analyzer will prompt me for a name of the diagram. I'll just accept the name here. And once again, what will happen is Raven Visual Analyzer will update the editor, validate the text, and include a diagram just below it so that you have a more complete visual context for the specific use case. Now, going on in the demonstration, what I'll show you is the ability to use Raven Visual Analyzer to reinforce a common business vocabulary for all project team members. This is a bi-directional interface that we provide. So for the particular narrative I've defined here, let me click on this function, which is the review terms and actors functions in this particular narrative. Again, a dialog appears where you can see that Raven has, as part of analyzing the narrative, has automatically identified the actors that exist, as well as the objects or other terms that are reflected in the narrative. Notice that the shopper actor is already exists in the RRC repository, and so that's indicated by the link in the right-hand column. To use this interface, what you do is you select, for example, this classic CD web shop actor and say, well, I want to add this actor to the requirements composer repository. I'll do that, and what will happen is the narrative will refresh, and you'll see that in fact classic CD web shop is now hyperlinked and underlined, and it's noted, if I hover over it, you'll see that it now exists as an actor within the requirements composer repository. Similarly, I could actually do something like take the CD titles list term and add that as a term within requirements composer by right-clicking on it and saying add this term to requirements composer. By doing that, of course, that term will be available for use in future use case specifications so that, again, the entire project team is using a constant business vocabulary. You'll see now that the CD titles list has been hyperlinked, and if I hover over it, you'll notice that in fact it is a term that I can go in and edit, define synonyms for, tag it, etc. All the features that Requirements Composer provides in its collaborative environment. Now, one other thing I'll show you while I'm here is we also have the ability to work the other way, to actually replace terms and actors in the narrative with those that already exist within Requirements Composer. So for example, if I wanted to replace the actor shopper with another actor that already exists within Requirements Composer, I'll select the Replace Actor function, and let's say that I want to replace it with the actor named CD Shopper. I'll select that, click OK, and once again the narrative will get updated in the editor. You'll notice that all instances of the actor shopper have been replaced with CD shopper, and that in fact it's also updated in the list as indicated here. So this really gives you a bidirectional capability to both use existing terms and actors in the Requirements Composer repository, as well as use Raven to automatically identify terms and actors to be included within Requirements Composer. Finally, to complete the demo, what I'll do is I'll exit here and go into a specific or an individual requirement, the validate credit card requirement here, and use the final function available with Raven Visual Analyzer, which is the ability to instantly visualize or preview an activity diagram before inserting it back into the editor. So here I'll select the narrative, I'll click on the preview activity diagram function, and what it'll do is give you a preview window where you can simply look at the diagram or drag and drop it into the editor or any other location within Requirements Composer, or even to Windows Explorer or Microsoft Word. In this case, I'll simply drag and drop it back into this editor, where you'll see once again it'll be added as a visual artifact that can be linked to anything else within Requirements Composer. So in this demonstration, you've now seen how Raven Visual Analyzer adds vital requirements analysis and visualization capabilities to Rational Requirements Composer. Working together, these products can dramatically reduce the time it takes you to define and confirm requirements with key stakeholders, accelerating project schedules and increasing stakeholder confidence that the final application will meet core business needs. Thanks again for watching.